G'day everyone and welcome to day 6 at the IPF Classic World Championships. Today was a little bit of a different schedule. We had the 84 kilo women, the 105 kilo men and the 120 kilo men all take to the platform. So we had 3 weight classes today. It's the first time we've had 3 weight classes since day 1. I actually kind of like the way that they did this scheduling. It's a little bit awkward at first, but when you see the logic, it all makes a lot of sense. And so in the morning, we had the 105 kilo men and the 120 kilo men B groups. And in the afternoon, we had the 84 kilo women all together, B group and A group together. And in the evening, we had the heavyweight men, so the 105s and the 120 A groups. So it was all very fun. I probably should have explained all of that while we're looking at the schedule, which you can kind of see here, and that makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it? So you can see here, today is Saturday. The B group men competed during the day. In the afternoon, we had the 84 kilo women, and then in the evening, we had the 105, 120 kilo men. As in previous, where's the camera? There you are. As in previous recaps, what we're going to do is look at each weight class individually. So I'm going to start with the 84 kilo women. Then I'm going to look at the 105 kilo men. Then I'm going to look at the 120 kilo men. And so if you're only interested in one of the sessions, you can check the timestamps below and just jump to where you're more interested. Let's take a look at the lifting. Oh, no, we're not doing that. We are going to go looking at the nominations first. So we're looking at the 84 kilo women nominations. I apologize about any audio in the background. I'm in a shared space right now. But we're looking at the 84 kilo women's. All eyes were on Amanda Lawrence, and she was the #1 nomination by a mile. Following her, you can see a number of lifters here. It was quite spread out. It's not as a competitive nomination as we have seen in other categories. And so, yeah, all eyes were on Amanda Lawrence. And the big question was she going to be able to take the Best Lifter award? And now the current best lifter is Natalie Richards in the 57 kilo class. She scored 122.17 good lift points. And in order to beat that, Amanda Lawrence is going to need to total 646 kilos. So this is IPF calculator, points calculator. Total is going to be 646 because this was her body weight on the day, 83.65. That gives her 122.20 good lift points. That beats Natalie Richards. So assuming she wins comfortably, which hot tip she does, that's what is she going to be gunning for. Okay, let's take a look at the lifts. There was a lot of lifting today, so not everything is going to come to my mind immediately. This is Ziana Azaria. Whoa, we've missed this. Let's go back and find that. She was A group, so we're going to skip ahead and see if we can get to this. Nope. Okay, let's see if I go here. If I do this, is the same thing going to happen on every single one? No, I think that's fine. Okay, here we go. So this is Ziana Azaria, and she's going for a 207.5 kilo third squat. And so a common theme of the day, actually I might be able to show it to you now. A common theme of the day in the women's class especially was depth and how depth was being percepted. And there was a lot of lifts that I'm going to say were pretty close, that should have been paid, that weren't. And so we're going to see if we can find this attempt that I'm talking about now from the young lifter. Here we go. And so this was her second squat of 200 kilos. Apologies about this. So this is her second kilo squat. This is 200 kilos. This is Azaria from Great Britain. And so a common theme you're going to see is a lot of missed lifts and on depth. And I mean, this has been a common theme of this entire championships. And I might even do a recap on all of these types of decisions in another video. But a second attempt kilo squat here of 200 kilos is the 84 kilo class. And this lift receives 2 red lights, which you can see down here, the bottom right. And obviously no lift. But that lift gets overturned and it ends up being a good lift. Oopsie. She comes out for her second attempt, 7.5 kilos more. And so she's done 200 kilos, was given 2 red lights, and then overturned into a good lift. And then she comes out here for her third attempt, 207.5. And I mean, that's up to you to judge how you see that lift. But she receives 2 red lights again from the same referees. And once again, this gets overturned. And so what we were noticing is that the referees in the seats were very strict on depth. I'm going to be showing you a number of lifts here that aren't necessarily from the competitive lifters or from the top lifters. This is Jenny Briney from Norway. Similar thing, her second attempt was 172.5. Here, this is 177.5. And we're watching this one, and that looks good to me. But this also gets paid no lift. You'll see that she has so little doubt that she just runs off and celebrates without even looking at the lights. So she's pumped, but she's gotten 2 red lights there. That is a no lift. That lift does not get overturned. We have Leah Schreiner. This was one of the lifts that really baffled me. A third attempt of 192.5 kilos. You can watch this. She gets the start call or squats command. Nice fight, nice third attempt squat there. And you'll see that this lift, sorry that it's a little bit jumpy, gets 3 red lights. Not even 2, not even an opportunity for a overall. And take a look at this replay. That looks really good to me, but no lift. And so we really quickly found out that the depth standards that we are having here are very high. This is Hema Govind of New Zealand. This is her third attempt squat of 205. I'm showing this lift for 2 reasons. One, it was deep in my opinion and paid a no lift, but also because the grind is just amazing, and you're going to see that here. And it's a big fight there, and she manages to stand up with it. The replay doesn't catch the depth, so you're not going to see that, so you kind of have to see that there. You can always jump back a little bit if you need to. And she gets 3 red lights. Again, I'm a little bit surprised by this because that looks like a good lift to me. This is Kelly Millikamps. She is the French woman. She wasn't one of the top contenders, but I wanted to show her lifting a little bit today because France are one of the countries that are in contention for best female team. You know, they had Tiffany Chopin, they had Laia Beauvoir win, and I think definitely before today, they were the top team, followed by Powerlifting America. And so I was very curious to see how the French woman was going to go. This is her 217 third attempt squat. She gets pinned with it, so this is a no lift. Like I said, she's not one of the top lifters, but I mean, like the difference between coming 5th and coming 7th, that extra 2 points can make a difference towards the end. Okay, we have Kristen Torhol's daughter, if I'm saying that right. She missed 210 on the opener on depth, unsurprisingly, nailed it on the second on 210, and now she's going to 222.5. So this is her third attempt squat here of 222.5 in the 84 kilo class. It's a little bit jumpy, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that is a no lift for her. So she finishes 1 out of 3. Of course, Amanda Lawrence was the lifter that we were all very excited to see. She nailed 230 in the opener. This is 242.5 on the second. And you're essentially assuming that she goes 6 out of 6. Like if she makes 2 squats, 2 benches, 2 deadlifts, she's going to win this competition. And so the big question was, like I introduced earlier, can she take Best Female Lifter award off Natalie Richards? So she's aiming for that 646 total. All right, she gets this squat of 242.5. And her third attempt squat here is 249. And this is for a new world record. And interestingly, this is a nice healthy chip because remember, she needs 246 to break the Best Female Lifter award. So with this, she'll be able to, because this is 1.5 kilos above an increment, she'll be able to hit 246.5 as a total. So a very tidy attempt selection there. And I mean, this was for the world record anyway, so that works out fine. She gets 2 white lights. That's a good lift. So she has no issues with depth, fortunately enough. Excuse me, these are the standings after the squat round. You can take a look at it here. Admittedly, this is going to be a bit of a long video, so we'll try to move through things quickly. Okay, Jenny Briney, again, I'm showing her lifts because she was one of the lifters that had an issue with bench depth. Now, admittedly, I would also agree with the referee decision on this, that this might have been a little bit high based on the interpretation of the rules, but it is interesting. And the reason I want to show it is because, you know, a lot of people are curious as to like, how is bench depth being interpreted at an international level? What is not deep enough? And so, you know, the more videos like this you see, the better, you know, intuition you can develop. So this is too high. So very hard to kind of make adjustments on the fly to get extra depth. You know, it's not like a squat where you can just go deeper. You actually have to flatten your back out, and that changes the plane with which you press and a whole bunch of stuff. So her second attempt looks like this, same weight. And obviously in a bid to get that extra depth, she's like changed her setup, and it just made it, the groove is just all lost. So she misses that again. So she's on the brink of bombing out, and she comes out, takes the same weight again, one more time. This is 107.5. And fortunately for the Norwegian, she gets this lift Obviously not the day you want. You always want to go 2, 3 benches, but to have not bombed out is a nice consolation at least. Okay, we have Claire Noonan, the New Zealander. She is, in contention if some of the other lifters don't have quite the right day. She went 2 out of 3 on squats. This is her bench of 115. I believe this is a second round bench. This is third round bench, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Because she missed her second attempt bench on a missed groove. She got 2 white lights and then had that lift overturned. Wait, this is the second attempt. What am I saying? That's the second attempt. That gets overturned, actually. That's what I want to show. So this lift gets overturned, potentially for downward movement, potentially for butt. You can see here the lights. Blue light here means downward motion. So it's likely for downward motion. None of the referees called hips, like butt off the bench. So it's hard to say. And so she's kind of forced to repeat the same weight. The commentators were saying that, once she'd gotten that lift, she was like, I'm not going to take a third attempt. I'm going to save the energy. But when she found out that the lift got overturned and it was actually a red light, she's gone, oh, well, I have to take it now. And this time, makes no mistake, 115, very smooth. Obviously, should have just preferred 10 more minutes to go chill, get changed, get ready for deadlifts. But nevertheless, 2 out of 3 on the bench, so they're happy with that. Okay, Kelly Micon with 102.5. This is a third attempt bench. She missed a second. A bit of an ambitious jump to go from 95 to 102.5 kilos on bench press. Regardless of the athlete, 7.5 kilos on bench is quite a lot. And it proves to be the case because she goes 1 out of 3. So costly kind of attempt selection there by Team France. Okay, this is Hemogovin. This is 117.5. And I'm showing this again for the same reason. Oh, this is on fast forward. Because she gets pinned on bench depth. And again, it's just interesting for you guys, for everyone, to kind of see where that line is being drawn. Admittedly, I think this is pretty close as well. But, as we're all learning what this bench depth rule is, I think it is worthwhile to see practical examples and, help us paint a better gauge, I guess, of, how to intuitively draw where that line is. Okay, don't see much there. Okay. This is Ali O'Reilly, if I'm getting this right. This is a 127.5 kilo second bench press attempt. Sorry, 130 kilos. So she nailed her second attempt at 127.5. I don't have that video prepared. She nails 127.5 kilos on the second attempt bench, which was really good. And she went to 130 kilos. In the same session, Amanda Lawrence also benched 127.5 kilos on the second attempt and also went to 130 kilos. So these two lifters were fighting for gold. And Ali misses this 130 kilo bench. I'm sorry, Ali, I wish I had your 127.5 kilo prepared. And she unfortunately gets this as a no lift. Amanda Lawrence is to follow, and Amanda is the lighter lifter. No, Amanda's the heavier lifter. So she got one. So this is Amanda Lawrence's 127.5. Oh, sorry. So Amanda Lawrence had the higher lot number, which means she goes second. She goes after Ali on the same attempts, but she's the heavier lifter. And so if Ali just got her third bench, then she would have won the gold medal on the bench press. But unfortunately, for her at least, Amanda Lawrence comes out and nails this 130 kilo bench press. And so by this point, Amanda is on 3 out of 3. She 6 out of 6, all 3 squats, all 3 bench presses, and she nails her subtotal. Okay, so these are the subtotals coming into deadlifts. Yes, we have Amanda Lawrence on top. We have Kristen Toho's daughter on second on 3.35. So you can see that gap is already too much. There is a small battle for second, a small battle for third, small battle in that kind of podium area. But Amanda Lawrence is just a country mile ahead. You can have a glance at who is fighting there. Okay, another interesting lift that I want to show you. This is Daniela Vella. She's of Malta, of the host nation. Again, she wasn't super competitive. She was in the B group. But this third attempt deadlift at 180 kilos got turned down for a lack of lockout. Red card on deadlift signifies not standing erect or not having the shoulders back. It is very slow, but I feel like that very clearly comes through the lockout. She pulls her shoulders right back. And you guys got to keep in mind, I'm showing, some of the more questionable decisions, I would say. By far and large, the decisions were great, but occasionally you get ones like this that kind of leave you scratching your heads, and even the commentators were like, I don't see how that is a no lift, but no lift for her. Actually, I believe that does get overturned. Yes, that does get overturned. Okay, these are the deadlifts at the end of the first round of the A group. You can kind of see that in second place is Kristen Torso-Daughter on 555. Ziana Azaria is on 535 and then 532. So there's a bit of a battle going for bronze, but second looks pretty locked up. First looks locked up. If you did the math, you know what Amanda Lawrence needs. She needs 646.5 kilos total to take the best female lifter, which is a 257.5 kilo deadlift. So the question is 257? Yeah, I think that's right. What am I doing? 15 kilos, 30, 6. So 60 to 67.5 kilo deadlift. So that's what she's going for in order 267.5 in order to win best female lifter. Let's see how that pans out. We're going to take a look at some of the lifters that we haven't looked at yet. This is Temtope Nuga, 230 kilos on the second attempt deadlift. So pretty strong there. And this is a good lift. Okay. This is Torso-Daughter on 230 kilos. And I guess like the only way that Torso-Daughter could lose the silver medal is if she finished on 1 out of 3. I've said this kind of concept a couple of times before. If you're looking pretty short to win a certain position, but you go 1 out of 3 on deadlifts, that opens the door for other people. As soon as she gets her second deadlift, it's looking pretty locked up there. Because again, if she was on 1 out of 3, she was 20 kilos, I think, or 20 kilos ahead. We can even look at this. Yeah, she's 20 kilos ahead of Great Britain. But if she's stuck on 1 out of 3, there's no reason why Ziana can't have a 20 kilo spread and get to that kind of weight. So, but once she's gone 2 out of 3, it is pretty much in the bag, the silver medal. Okay, we're going into the second round. You see this is Ziana Azaria. The two Brits are fighting for bronze, essentially. So this is to go into the third place position with 237.5 kilos. Very smooth third attempt. And we're going to take a look at Amanda Lawrence at the end of all this battle. In the last round of deadlifts, you see Temtope is on 230. She goes to 240 kilos on the third attempt to go to third. This is to give her a 555 total because she's on 545. So this is to add 10 kilos to her total to get her to 545. So the two Brits are fighting out for bronze. Like I said, she's currently in fourth before this lift. A 10 kilo jump. We saw the 230 only a moment ago. It's a little wobbly, but she does get it. I love this reaction, by the way. It's not the other celebration, it's the little dance. Please, 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 please. And it's 3 white lights. So great lifting from her. She's on 555. And now Ziana, who's the heavier lifter, is on 547. So she needs 10 more kilos. So she's gone to 247.5. This is to give her to 557.5 kilos on the total to out total her compatriot by 2.5 kilos. Now, if you remember, the 237.5 was very smooth. So this is very realistic, but I really like the attempt selection from the previous lifter. You've just got to put pressure on your opponent and hope that they miss. Of course, I don't think they would hope that each other misses on anything, but in this context, yes, but that is no problem. I think she's done over 250 in the past before. So she is your bronze medalist. Okay, Amanda Lawrence takes 257.5 on the second. This is her second attempt lift of 257.5. She's essentially gunning for 267.5. She's won the competition. There's no risk there. So very smooth. She gets 1 red light. Waiting on that red light. She gets 1 red light there for not getting her shoulders back quite enough. And with nothing else to go for, obviously she goes for 267.5. This is to give her a 646.5 kilo total. And most importantly, best female lifter award. You can see that here, it's just a little bit too heavy and she loses it. So that is a no lift for Amanda Lawrence, and she finishes the day in first place with 636.5. You can pause this and take a look at the standings. You can see the tight battle in third between Ziana and Temtope, 557.5, 555. Torso-Daughter on 565. As expected, the rest of the standings are there. So it's a very interesting competition. There wasn't a lot of back and forth. It was basically Amanda versus a pre-established total that she had to achieve. A bit of a battle on third, but everything else was pretty smooth. Okay, let's take a look at the men's 105 now. We're going back here. We're going back here. Okay, men's 105. The nominations were very interesting. Much, I'm going to say much more interesting than the 84 kilo women's in terms of competitiveness. Emil Norling is the reigning world champion. He's on 928.5. We have Muhammad from Libya on 915. Michael Davies 912. Anatolii 905. Mo from Great Britain on 900, and Quarantine Clement on 895. And this gap of 25, 30 kilos, that's one squat or maybe two squats, one squat and one deadlift. That's all it is. And so, as I always say, attempt selection is critical. You'll know some of these lifters because they competed at the recent Sheffield. Anatolii hasn't competed at World since 2021. We know he's a beast because he totaled, I believe, 940 at the Ukrainian Nationals 2 months ago. Okay, let's take a look at their lifts. Let's get straight into it. Here we are. Okay, Michael Davies, he went 285, 310, and 317. And a common talking point that I've mentioned a couple of times, and the commentators were talking about as well, was how quick these groups are moving. They're groups of 8. And when you're lifting these types of weight, I mean, you're generally resting 10 minutes in training, 8 to 10 minutes, but these guys were doing their lifts within 6, 7 minutes. And so Michael Davies had a really good strategy, which I really like. He opened really light on 285, went to 310, takes 317.5. So he saved himself some energy on his opening squat so that he could have 2 good cracks, 2 good attempts. I really like that. So he gets 317.5. That is a good lift. He's on 3 out of 3. Quarantine Clement, Coco Clement, this is 327.5 after going 2 out of 2. And much like a lot of the squatting yesterday, very good squatting standard here. Everyone's going 3 out of 3. And Coco also goes 3 out of 3. He nails this, 327.5 kilo squat. Very good attempt selection, the same as Michael Davies in terms of eking out every kilo. I don't think he had another 2.5 kilos there, most certainly. So that is also 3 out of 3. Okay, we have Emil Norling. Now, unlike the other two, he did not have a great day. He opened at 315, which upon viewing wasn't fantastic, and then he went to 325. 10 kilo jump, and this sucked. I'm going to be honest. And I think he would agree. That was not a great squat. And so Emil chooses actually not to take a third squat to save himself some steam. You can see this here, I believe. Yeah. I mean, he's submitted 327.5, or at least that's what the score table have accepted. But he doesn't actually come out. He lets the clock run. Very classy act. Nice one there. He finishes 2 out of 2 technically, but not where he would have planned. Okay, Muhammad here from Libya is a relatively unknown lifter. The commentators were also saying this, that they're not really familiar with who he is or what he does. And he went 315, 325, 335. And he had very interesting lifting style. He didn't look very refined in his lifting and instead just relied on brute force. He basically high bars 335 here. He did 325 on the second attempt, which was good. This 335 was high. So watch closely. And yeah, keep in mind that this set of referees, by the way, is a different set of referees than the 84 kilo women because it's a different session. He basically muscles that out. It was 3 red lights. I don't think there was any doubt that this was high. And I personally would have agreed. So that's a no lift. For Muhammad, he finishes 2 out of 3 on 325. This is Anatolii Novopismennyi, taking a world record squat of 362.5. Whoa, what's going on here? There we go. And so Anatolii has come back recently from the Ukrainian nationals. And he's gone 2 out of 2 up to this point. He scored a 355 after opening at 345. So big opener, not a very big spread. I wasn't a big fan of this, but proves to be just fine because he squats 362.5, gets 2 white lights. It is a good lift. Let's wait for him to rack it there. The lights should come up now. So Anatolii is looking really strong. Oh, and we're going to see the standings in a moment. We can watch this replay while we're here. Very nice. And so these are the standings into the squat of the 105 men. You can see Anatolii, clear first gold medal. Ben Pape of Great Britain, who we haven't looked at, on 330, then 327, 325, 325. So pretty competitive down here. Okay, let's move along. Michael Davies' bench press opener was a bit of a funny one. You'll see here he doesn't get the start call because the referees weren't happy with his feet position. Apparently his feet aren't flat. It's hard to see from this angle, but he gets told to replace the bar. So if you're not in the correct starting position, the referees will call you back into the back into the rack. The clock continues to run, and you've got to hopefully get a start command in time. I'm really impressed with how composed he stays here. He doesn't feel like he's in a rush. I mean, he probably could have taken a little bit more time if he needed to here. But fortunately, it's an opener, so he's able to kind of adjust his stance. But when you've already unracked a heavy weight like this, it is really hard. And you're going to see that in this performance here. That almost looks like a second attempt. I wouldn't have been too concerned. I mean, I wasn't concerned watching because I just know that that is the fatigue from the unrack already. And Michael Davis goes to 222.5 and he's 30 and he misses that. I think I've got a video that we're going to take a look at that. Okay, Coco 205 on the second and that is 207.5. The 205 was really hard and I was skeptical that he would be able to make this bench press, but he does, and so he's 6 out of 6 now. You gotta keep that in mind. He's 6 out of 6. While Michael Davis is 5 out of 6. This is Norling. Now he went 200, 207.5, now 210. Remember, he only took 2 squats and he missed, and he didn't even take a third squat. So he didn't have the best squat day ever. But this is what 210 looks like on Emil. Muscles that through, and it's a good lift. And so, I get the sense that this isn't the best bench day either. He's second was 207, and then you go to 210. That tells me that you're probably not projecting up as far as you would have liked. Okay, Mohammed. This is Mohammed from Libya, who went 2 out of 3 on squats. As uncomfortable as his squat looks, his bench is equally so, or if not more. He takes a super close grip. Like this would be closer than my close grip in training, and I think most people. And his elbows on the outside of his wrists, looks super uncomfortable, but heaps of power. Definitely no doubt about elbow depth, and he blasts to 12.5. Nice one there. That is 3 out of 3. If we get the lights. Yeah, it's 3 out of 3. Okay, no problem. This is Michael Davis. Yeah, this is the 222.5 30 attempt bench. He fails this. So Michael Davis is on 2 out of 3. Coco's on 3 out of 3, 6 out of 6. Emil's on kind of 5 out of 5. Yeah, no lift there from Michael Davis. Now we're looking at Anatolii. This is his last bench. He went 212, 222.5, now 225. He goes 3 out of 3. And so he's having an amazing meet so far. He's on 6 out of 6, hitting big weights, broke the world record squat. Beautiful. Nice kind of medium grip bench press there. And so we're looking at the standings now. This is Anatolii. This is the bench press standings at least. He wins the gold medal again. The bench pressing was really strong, but not a super high standard in the 105s, say compared to 93s. We had 2 93s outbench these guys actually, Keiko benching 243 and Emil benching 232.5, but still some very strong pressing. And importantly, oopsie, do we have the standings going into there's no subtotal standings. Okay, that's fine. Sure, whatever. Okay, going into deadlifts. Before we take a look at do we have, yeah, I think they were moving so quick that they didn't even have time to show the standings. No, this is the 120s now. Okay, no problem. Okay, they're moving so quickly that they barely had time to show standings, so they didn't actually have any displays. So we're going to go through it and figure it out as we go. We are into deadlifts now. I'm moving pretty quick, even I'm confused. This is Mo of Great Britain. Mo had a pretty reasonable day up to this point, but he gets the deadlift, and his deadlift opener looks like this. Not what you want a deadlift opener to look like at 340. We know he's done it well over 370 in the past. Just comes undone. I suspect maybe he just didn't have enough chalk on or something. It looked like a grip issue. Nevertheless, he comes back with 340 on the second attempt and he nails it. Beautiful. Happy days. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking there because you never want to see a lifter miss multiple lifts in a row, opener in second, but gets a good lift at 340. In the meantime, Anatolii takes 340 as a second attempt lift here. And one thing I didn't actually mention in the nominations, look at the men's. Just like Amanda Lawrence was hunting the best female lifter, Anatolii is hunting the best male lifter. We see a nice second attempt at 940 kilos. Now, Coco Clement goes from 330 to 350. This is a second attempt deadlift, and you're going to see Coco's deadlift is not great. And more specifically, this is to put him into third at this point. You can see that is represented there. Beautiful. Beautiful lift. Very hard, very slow. Almost questionable on the lockout, but he gets paid good lift. And the referees actually in this session, I believe, were relatively generous when it came to paying deadlifts compared to, say, in the 74 kilo class. All right, this is Michael Davis. This is also 350, and you can say this. You can see this puts him into third. So he puts him into third over over who did we just see? Over Coco, of course, in the same round, the second round of deadlifts. Michael Davis did a similar approach. He took his open at 330 nice and light, and then jumps to 350. Tough fight there, but he gets it. And he looks super amped, right? Like he looks super, super excited, but we're going to see a very odd thing in a moment. He walks off looking totally fine. Now we have Muhammad here. This is taking 360 kilos. His first attempt was 350. He's currently placed second, and this is to stay in second. This is a 360 kilo second attempt deadlift. And yeah, this lift has gone pretty good. He's on 2 squats, 3 benches. This is his second deadlift of 360. Huge deadlift at 105. Nails it. And it's a good lift. And not lastly, sorry, we have Emil Noring now on 360 kilos. This is to put him into third. You can see the total rank jumps to third. And so the battle for third actually is quite stiff, and a number of lifters are fighting there. And I'm going to echo what the commentators and Ryan and Joe were mentioning, is that the pace of this competition was so fast that these lifters just did not have time to recover in between attempts. And so it was very hard to put up good performances because of this effect of the fatigue. Okay, let's take a look at the standings at the end of the second round. So you can see everyone's deadlifts at the end of the second round and their totals. Anatolii is well in front at 927. We have 897, 895, 885, 885. So very, very tight battle in for the bronze medal. There. Emil is heavier than Abdullah, and so we'll need to out deadlift him if by not just by 2.5, but by 5 kilos to make up the gap. Michael Davies is an 885, and so he's going to want a total 895 at the very least to match the total on Emil Norling and to take the bronze medal, and same thing as current Coco Clement. I will also mention that Anatolii needs a 940 kilo total. That's to match. That's the total 900. Oh, sorry. He needs a 940 kilo total to win best male lifter off Jonathan Keiko, who after yesterday's performance is the best male lifter of the tournament so far. Okay, last round of deadlifts. This is Mo. He's jumped to a moderate 352.5 kilo deadlift. Like I said, he's deadlifted well over 370 in the past, and so this just obviously isn't his best deadlift day. But he goes 2 out of 3 on the deads. We are happy to see this. Very nice. Okay, that's a good lift. We're going to move through this really quickly. Ben Pay. Oh, no, sorry. Okay, this is the Norwegian Tony, who we haven't looked at, but I'm going to show everyone's deadlift here. This is 352.5 kilos on the deadlift. Just proves a little bit too heavy. We have Ben Pape. Now, Ben was fighting for a deadlift medal. You can see this is deadlift rank 3 to 1. He's already done 355. He's going 362.5. So while he was, I think, the lowest nomination of the group, he's fighting for a deadlift medal, and that's very much worth fighting for. If he nails this, he's in first, and relying on other people to miss, he could even win the deadlift gold. Remember, his best deadlift was 355. Unfortunately, this is too heavy. Surprising because the 355 is pretty good. So he's stuck on 355. Yet to be seen if he wins a medal. This is Mohammed taking a 5 kilo jump. And so he's currently in second, but he's defending second from Emil because Emil's hot on his tail. Like I said, Emil needs to out deadlift him by 5 kilos if he wants that silver medal. They both deadlifted 360 in the second round. And so if he fails this, Emil just needs 365. If he gets this, then Emil's going to need 370. And he nails it. So Muhammad, new to the scene, at least at IPF level, goes 8 out of 9, missing 1 squat on depth. Very good day of lifting for someone who's never stepped on an international platform, or at least not an IPF platform. Okay, and this is where things get really interesting. Michael Davies skips out his third attempt. Well, why is this not playing? He passes his third attempt. Oh, it is playing. It's just nothing's happening. He needed 10 kilos, maybe 12 and a half if he was heavier. I forget. I think it was 10. I can even look at that while I talk. He needed this jump. Give me 1 second while I fix this. Sometimes this happens as it has in other days. Okay, let's go here. Okay. Yeah, Michael Davis needed this lift to move into, you can kind of see it if I jump back enough here, the graphic, to jump into third place because he was 10 kilos behind at this point, but chose not to take the third attempt. Like I said, which was a bit surprising because, yeah, he was heavier, so he needed 12 and a half. He needed 362.5. A bit surprising because I feel like you got nothing to lose, but obviously they just accepted the fact that they were just too far behind and it was going to be too much work. Risk of injury. I don't really know what the story is. There might be a little bit more back there, but he just chose to pass the third attempt, and so he can't get better than fourth because he's fourth at this point. Okay, Emil Norling, like I said, he needs 5 kilos more than Muhammad, so they go to 370, logically. This is rank, you can see here, rank 3 to 2. So we're going to jump ahead and take a look at this lift. So the Swede, who's the reigning world champion, accepts defeat to Anatolii, but goes for silver medal. And like I said earlier, compared to previous sessions, the referees were quite generous with lockouts. Like that lockout is admittedly quite soft, but 3 white lights. So quite, I'm not going to say incorrect, but generous with their assessment of these lifts. And oh, I forgot to mention as well, Coco Clement also passed on his third attempt. And so both of these two lifters, Michael Davis and Coco, needed 10 kilos to jump into bronze. 350. What's happened here? Yeah. And so these two needed their jump to go from 885 to 895, 10 kilos, to at least get to 895, which is where Muhammad was to take the bronze. I guess they just accepted that wasn't happening, and they both passed. So it's quite odd to see two lifters potentially to win a bronze pass their third attempt deadlifts. I don't know if that's a coincidence that they both decided that, or if they decided that together, because their third deadlifts as well of 362.5 was before Muhammad. So it's not like they knew, oh, Muhammad got his deadlift and now he's on 902.5 and now it's too far. They were before, so that was a bit weird. And the last lift of the day on the 105 kilo class. Oh, no, did I already show? Where is it? Anatolii's deadlift. Anatolii gets his third attempt deadlift, but we're going to have a look at it. I'm just going to find it real quickly. I don't know why I didn't have that saved earlier. I do apologize. That's not Anatolii, but it's the same weight. That's not Anatolii, it's the same weight. He did 352.5. Okay, here we go. Anatolii is one of the lighter deadlifters, and his third attempt is 352.5. This is to give him, as you can see on the scoring, 940 kilos on the total. And the 940 kilos is to match Jonathan Keiko's, well, not match, but somewhat slightly beat by the smallest margins, beat him on IPF good lift points and win best male lifter, or at least put him in best male lifter temporarily until we see the rest of lifting tonight and tomorrow. So Anatolii goes 9 out of 9, has a perfect day, squatted 362.5, which was a world record, benched a 225, and now deadlifts 352.5 for a world record total at 105 of 940 kilos. So excellent day lifting there. And yeah, so these are the final placings. You can have a look at the final placings there. This is the 105 kilo men. Cool, we're going good for time. Okay, last session to take a look at is the 120 kilo men. So much like the 84 kilo women, the top end wasn't going to be so hotly contested. At least that's what it looked like initially. Tony Cliff was well in front, but it ended up being a bit more of a battle than we had realized it was going to be, and we're going to take a look at that in a second. We have Dhillon here on 915, Mohammed Sahad on 910, Nicholas on 895, and a couple of 890. So kind of like pretty congested here around second, it's looking like. So it was always going to be a good battle for second and third podium places there. Let's get straight into the lifting. These are our lifters that we are looking out for. Okay, 120 kilo man. This is Nicholas Perut. Perro. This is 327.5. So he's gone 2 out of 3 coming into these squats. His rack height was actually wrong. He asked for them to change rack height, but they didn't reset the time, which I find surprising to have happened on the third round of squats because surely they would have figured it out in the first round, which suggests to me that it was a mistake by the spotters notice, so they should have restarted the clock. Maybe they restarted the clock at the time, but maybe the display didn't change. I don't know what happened, but regardless, it ended up being a non-issue because he does get the squat command just on time. This is 327.5 for the Frenchman. Nice one. He's 3 out of 3. Good lifting. Okay, this is Victor Vasquez of Spain. This is 340 kilos. His second attempt squat of 330 kilos was really good. I would have thought he had 342.5 kilos on squat, but that is not the case. Well, I mean, no, not the case. That's not what they chose. They chose 340, and he goes 3 out of 3 on squats. This is Inderraj Dhillon with 345 kilos on the squat in the 120 kilo class. He squatted 340, which was really good. He takes 345, and that 5 kilo difference proves to be too much. A little bit surprising because the 340 was pretty smooth, but he finishes the day on 2 out of 3 with 340. Okay. Tony Cliff, who is our favorite, he went 310, 340, 345. I like the 310 to 340. He was obviously very confident at that weight and then decided that 5 kilos would be all that he wants to take on his third attempt squat. Now, Tony Cliff is an absolute legend of lifting. He's been competing for over 20 years, since he was a teenager. So very experienced, knows his body, 3 out of 3 on the squats. We have Mohammed Sahad. He's the reigning world champion, if I'm not mistaken. His opener of 360 was called on depth. And remember, these guys are in the same session as the 105 guys. The 120 guys are in the same session as the 105s. So he got called on depth and repeated 360 and got it and was totally good. And now this is 375. And so he is a potential challenger to Tony Cliff. So he really needed this squat and he does get it. It would have been fair to say that if he missed this squat, then his chances of winning the world championships were dead with it. But he gets a second squat, and with that, I believe he wins the gold medal in the squat. Yeah, he's on 375. Tony Cliff 345, the Spaniard on 340, Dhillon also on 340, losing out on the bronze medal by body weight. And you can see the rest of the standings there. Okay, on to bench press. Dhillon benches 180 pretty smoothly. Well, not smoothly, actually. It's actually quite hard because he then fails 182.5 on the next attempt. But he's a big deadlifter, and that's what he's there for. So that was a good lift. This is his 182.5. And he just fails this straight up on strength. So 182.5 is too much. Payrod is on 205, 212.5, and now 215. So 2.5 kilo jump from the second attempt to the third attempt. And it slows down, but he does get it. And that is also a good lift at 215 kilos. Very nice. Okay, Victor Vasquez, he also had 205 as an opener, but went to 215 as a second attempt, whereas the Frenchman went to 212.5. This is what 215 looks like in Victor's hands. Looks fine, like objectively, no problems at all. He's even happy with that. It's a good lift. Mohammed Sahad went 217 and now 220. Nails this. So he's on 3 out of 3 on bench after going 2 out of 3 on squats. Now, Tony Cliff, he went 230 on his opening bench, now 242.5 on the second. Whoopsie. Whoopsie. Okay. This is 242.5 for a second attempt bench press for Tony Cliff. And last that up, that's a pretty good lift. He gets white lights there. Waiting for the white lights. There he goes. And on the last attempt on bench press, he takes a 5 kilo jump. Same 5 kilo jump, curiously enough, that he took on the squat. This time that is too much for him. So he finishes the day on 242.5 kilos on the bench. So 2 out of 3. Okay, these are the standings after the bench press. We have a couple of medalists from the B group that competed in the morning. And I think we have the standings. Yeah, Tony Cliff takes the gold medal, unsurprisingly there. Okay, we're rolling into deadlifts. This is the deadlift. This is the total standings, placings, I should say, after the first round of deadlifts. And so Mohammed Sahad, who, if we remember earlier, was nominated in third with 910, is really, we can see that, right? Oopsie, no, we're, what? We're here. We are here now. How do I move across? Okay, I'm confused. We're just going to skip that. But nevertheless, he is nominated in third at 910 as a total, is already on 925 after an opening deadlift. So he's really putting up to Tony Cliff. It's unsurprising because he is the world champion from last year. The battle for third is quite tight between the Spaniard, the Frenchman, and the Brit. 865, 867.5, 877.5. That's going to come down to who makes lifts. And Tony has a really good strategy here. He is heavier than Muhammad. And you can see that at the end of the first round, Tony is already in the lead by 2.5 kilos. And so basically the strategy is super easy because he's got the bigger deadlift. Whatever Muhammad jumps, you just jump the same. Muhammad jumps 12.5 and goes to 342.5, which you're going to see in a second. And Tony jumps the same, jumps 12.5. In the meantime, we're going to have a look at what Victor does. He's on 340 on a second attempt deadlift. Excuse me. And you're going to see this 340. And remember, Victor's fighting for a bronze medal here in the total. That looks really smooth to me. Like that was as good as a deadlift as you could ask for a second attempt. He's happy and he knows it. He knows he's on. This is 342.5 for Nicolas Peyraud. Of France. $342.5. So a little bit short on the shoulders, but again, the referees are being nice and generous, so that's a good lift. More importantly, they're being consistent, which I like. This is Mohammed Sahad. He's jumped 12.5 kilos, and you can see it says total rank 2-1 because this is to go into the first place position. But a weird thing kind of happens. I'm uncertain as to what that is exactly, but he basically comes halfway up and just lets go of the bar. Maybe he had a little spasm in the back or something like this, but he basically just gives up on the lift. And Tony Cliff, who's in first place already, keeps his first place position, nails this deadlift of 352.5. That gives him a 940 kilo total and a 12.5 kilo lead over the Algerian. Okay, Dhillon now is on 375. His total rank is 5th. This takes him to 4th. And he's also fighting for a bronze medal if things go well. And the biggest deadlifter of the session takes 375 and moves it like that. The world record is 385. And so the world record is also inside and there if he needs it. These are the standings after the second round of deadlifts. You can see Tony Cliff's on 940. Funnily enough, that's the same total that Anatolii put up in the 105 kilo class. Mohammed Sahad is 15 kilos behind now. And so if he wants a chance to win, he's going to have to up his attempt to 332.5. Wait, no, to 345 because his second attempt was 342.5. So he needs to up that to 2.5 to match Tony's total and beat him on body weight, or at least be in the lead momentarily. And you can see the fight for third. Victor's in third now, 895. Indy on 895. Nicolas Peyraud on 885. So the battle for bronze is an 895 kilo total. Let's have a look at what happens. Sahad chooses to not even go for the first place. He could have gone up 2.5 kilos, but just stayed at the same weight, which I thought was a bit odd and surprising. But I think, you know, to me, that tells me your heart's not in it. It tells me that you just don't think you can do it. And that turns out to be the same. He basically repeats his second attempt. Like if you showed me them two, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one was which because they look exactly the same. So he essentially gives up first place and Tony Cliff is the world champion. Okay, Victor Vasquez, he's currently in third and trying to defend that. And so he's added 7.5 kilos to his deadlift. He went from 340 to 347.5. And what was an easy second attempt turns into a failed third attempt. Very surprising. Grip can be like that. You know, if the failing point is grip, you can blow up a weight and add 7.5 kilos, and it just proves too much. So he's in bronze technically, but very vulnerable. Nicolas Perrot, who is in fifth, takes this 10-kilo jump to 352.5 to steal the bronze medal off the Spaniard. Bit of Pyrenees action going on here. And so if Victor had gotten that 7.5 kilo plus on the deadlift, then this deadlift by the Frenchman would actually have to be 360. But because of that missed deadlift, Nick takes 352.5, gets a good lift. Again, a little bit loose on the shoulders, but these referees are giving these lifts. And so he finishes the day on a 352.5 kilo deadlift. Okay, we're going to skip ahead here to Tony Cliff. Now, Tony Cliff is in first place. He's the world champion. Nobody can catch him. He takes 365 kilos as a third attempt deadlift. This is purely for his own achievement. This is a personal best deadlift, I believe, 800 pounds. And he smokes it. And he finishes on a personal best total of 952.5 kilos. He's the world champion at 120 kilo class. Oh, I do have more tabs here. And now, Nicolas Perrot obviously matched the total of Victor, and he's on 895. And if you remember, the Great Brit here was 10 kilos behind them, and no, was on 895 already at that time. And so all he needed to do was add 2.5 kilos to his deadlift. He needed to go from 375 to 377.5 to take the bronze. But instead, they've decided to go all into 386. I'm a bit torn on decisions like this because I don't think that, I think placings, especially podiums, are a priority. But they've decided to go all in. I can understand that for an open world record because open world records are the most prestigious records you can have. So this is 386 kilos, a third attempt deadlift, to break the world record from Bryce Korczak, actually, of Canada, and also to take the bronze. So he's kind of gone all in, and it proved to be a good move because he nails it. And I love this reaction too. To take the bronze medal, step on the podium, and also break a world record deadlift all in one lift. That is an excellent day's outing. Okay, these are your standings. Tony Cliff's on first with 952.5, Mohamed Tahad on 925. Again, it's one of those situations where this looks like a big gap, but it could have been a very different story. If Mohamed got that second deadlift and Tony failed a deadlift, which he didn't look like he was going to fail at any deadlift today. But it was close for a moment there at least. And in third place is Dhillon of Great Britain on 906, Nicholas and Victor on 895. And so if you remember, if Inderraj missed that deadlift, that last deadlift, he also would have been on 895, but he would have finished in fifth rather than in third. So yeah, again, a pretty close battle for the bronze medal. Unfortunately, at the start of the third round of deadlifts, Victor was in third, and he finishes the round of deadlifts in fifth. So things can change that quickly. Okay, that is the lifting for today. We're gonna have a quick look at the standings here and the score sheets. If I can just get this to, I think this is frozen on me, so I'm just gonna see if I can figure this out. I mean, literally 5 seconds now. Okay, there we go. So these are the standings in the women's team point score, which is very interesting. We have USA and France both on 50 points. And this is kind of why I was interested to take a look at the, let me just double check that you guys can see this. Yes, you can. If I do this, does that make it easier to see? No, that makes it worse. Okay, don't worry about it. Ugh. This is why I was interested to see the French woman's lifts, Kelly Milcomp, because she finished in 7th. And now if you look where she's in 7th, I'm going to highlight this to make this a little bit easier to see. She's on 525 kilos and she failed her last deadlift at 230. This makes me wonder if that they had picked better attempts. Maybe they'd gotten a second bench. Maybe they picked even just 222.5 on this last deadlift, they would have finished in 6th. It looks like with that 230 kilo deadlift, they're trying to get into 5th, which would have been very useful as well. But that extra point would put them currently in 1st. Right now, they're in 2nd place behind USA, Powerlifting America, on the team point score. Yeah, just triple checking you guys can see that. So right now, currently in 1st place is USA with Amanda Lawrence's win there, and France's 7th finish. Amanda Lawrence, as you know, is not the best female lifter because she missed that last deadlift, but she's in 3rd, followed in front of her is Carol Agarra and Natalie Richards. With one more session to go tomorrow, the biggest threat to these standings is going to be Benika Brown, although I do suspect that Natalie Richards will hold on to her best female title and she will win. In the men's classes, our team points, USA is dominating that with, wait, I think I can actually do this. Can I do this? No. Okay. USA is dominating. They are on this. They are on 53 points. France is in 39, and then Sweden in 37. So 1st place is very much looking like USA, especially with one session to go tomorrow with Jesus competing. He's going to win that easily. And so USA will actually finish on, he's going to get 12, so it's 3 more than this. So, no, that's 4 more than this. So they're going to end up finish on 57 points, almost a perfect score. And so the battle's going to be tight for the 2nd and 3rd best teams. In terms of best male lifters, as I mentioned, Keiko was previously in the lead, but with Anatolii's performance, Anatolii is now best male lifter with a good lift points of 116.5. Of course, Jesus is to lift tomorrow. I haven't done the math as to what he needs to beat that. Of course, it depends what he weighs. Excuse me, and I doubt he's going to want to blow up the world record total because he has Sheffield to think about. And whoa, no. Okay, that wraps up day 6 of the IPF Classic World Championships. It was a big session. So to summarize, your female world champion at the 84 kilo class is Amanda Lawrence. At the 105 kilo class, it's Anatolii of Ukraine. I'm not going to say surname. And in the 120 kilo class, Tony Cliff with 952.5 kilos of Great Britain. Our best female lifters up to this point is Natalie Richards of the USA and Anatolii in the men's. That's it. One more day to go. I'm looking forward to the recap tomorrow. If you've made it this far, send me a DM and let me know that you actually watched the whole video. Cheers.